Members of the head table, invited guests, spiritual leaders, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Devika Thomas, and I'm the leader of the Reunited Farmers Group of Trinidad and Tobago. Our membership is 9,027 to date and growing of registered persons. Father Donny Samlal is one of our group spiritual leaders, amongst the others, Pastor Dwayne Bassard and Reverend Joy. I'm here today to join with you in condemning the physical abuse Father Donny received at the hands of the UNC leader and the thugs on Sunday last at their Congress. Brothers and sisters, any political party in the world that violate or incite violations of human rights norm, as they are listed in the United Nations Human Rights Declaration, are associated with crimes against humanity. And that is what we faced Sunday at the UNC's National Congress. Yes, so what has happened to Father Donny Samlal, our spiritual leader at the UNC National Congress, is a violation of his human rights, and this is why Kamla Prasad is not fit to be in our country's parliament, as this attack on Father Donny happened in her presence. As one of our religious leaders for the Reunited Farmers Group, Father Donny Samlal has been exploring ways of ending violence against children and civil society. His vision of building a better world for children, where they can be protected from violence or abuse in families, schools, communities, and now in the United National Congress Party, where he had first-hand experience on Sunday 29th January 2022 at their National Congress. Father Donny Samlal, as everyone else, was very surprised by the physical and verbal attack and abuse by the UNC thugs led by Kamla Prasad. Allow me to explain why Father Donny went to this National UNC Congress. Father Donny is one of the ex-Caribbean workers who are still waiting for his visa package since the closure of Caribbean 1975 Limited in 2003, that's 20 years ago. And right across the road is the Houston St. Martin factory, we all know. The amount of activity there was now everything is very, very dormant. Father Donny joined the UNC in 2010 general election after Kamla Prasad promised to him that she will settle all of the ex-Caribbean workers' visa packages when she becomes Prime Minister. Kamla then won the election and became the Prime Minister. Since then, Father Donny Samlal, together with thousands of ex-Caribbean workers, have been trying to get Kamla to settle their visa packages. Even when Kamla lost the election in 2015, Father Donny Samlal continued to write asking her to assist the ex-Caribbean workers through our parliament. Kamla Prasad never responded. Therefore, she abandoned her voter base, her voter base, the ex-Caribbean employees who voted for her. So Father Donny, being a lifetime member of the UNC, decided to speak to Kamla once again, since the UNC's party constitution clearly states that all arms of the party, through its head, must report to the membership on this day. That's the day of the Congress, where you were supposed to be allowed to speak, as every human right should have the right to speak, to view and voice their opinion on things that matters to them. So Father Donny attended the Congress, being guided by the very same UNC's party constitution. Prior to Sunday's Congress, Father Donny wrote a letter to the UNC General Secretary on Friday, the 27th January 2023, letting him know that he will be filing a no confidence motion on Kamla's leadership at the National Congress. So, they knew that Father Donny was going to be at that Congress to present his motion of no confidence in this political leader, Kamla Prasad. Father Donny Samlal was quietly sitting in the audience until he was asked by a UNC legal officer to bring forward his motion to the stage. While he was walking towards the stage, the UNC thugs were called out and started to abuse him in full view of Kamla Prasad and the National Executive members, as this verbal and physical attack took place on the same compound. Seeing that what was taking place, Kamla allowed her thugs to continue to abuse Pandidoni Samuel until one of her MP came and escorted Pandidoni out of the building onto the front yard, but still within the compound in full view of Kamla and her NATEX members. Seeing what was happening, the media ran to Pandidoni and started to interview him. During the interview, Kamla's thugs returned to verbally and physically abuse him, and again, as clearly, these are can be seen in the videos. As leader of the Reunited Group and my members, and I strongly condemn this type of behavior from Kamla Persad-Bissessar, we have started a physical petition amongst our members asking the President of Trinidad and Tobago to revoke the appointment as this country's opposition leader in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago with immediate effect. Kamla Persad-Bissessar has shown that she is not fit to be our opposition leader in Parliament. My dear friends and family, today, February 4th, 2023, marks the death anniversary of one of our nation's young and beautiful child, Andrea Barrett, whose body was found at the heights of Aribo. I invite each of you to join us in our candlelight vigil in support of all those families who have lost their loved ones through violence. I thank you. I would now like to invite Pastor Ron Edwards to the podium.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really glad to be here today. I watched with interest in the events of the Reunited Farmers Group and really always wanted to get involved. And the reason is my family came from the sugar industry. We were laborers, and all the way through the ranks, my brother was assistant factory manager at one time. So we have a deep interest in the people and the heritage left by that industry. Today, I've been asked to pray regarding violence in the country, more so as we celebrate the first anniversary of Andrea Barrett. And the violence continues. We are at the Pigeon Community Center, and to the back of this building, there's an apartment in which a girl is missing, Dana, and it is really sad, and the situation is coming home. Today, I would like to pray, but before I pray, I want to share some things regarding the crime and violence that's on my heart. So that the Bible says we must pray with the Spirit, but we must also pray with understanding. All right? The facts of life are so disturbing. But 5 of these things that I learned when learning to preach in theological school were the 5 B's. And was this: be brief, brother, be brief. So I don't want to keep you long. All right? Our society, in 2018, there were 118 rapes. In 2023, there were 605. And it represents only a 12% rape by the police of solving these crimes. There are rapes, robberies, kidnapping, home invasion, crimes of passion, domestic violence. One rational person would say, what is the cause? And a whole lot of times we look at the situation and we look at the symptoms and we do not look at the cause. I want to suggest some causes today. One of the causes is the church, and I am part of it, has failed in its responsibility. Very often you see people coming to church and fixing their clothes outside the church. And they're putting on a scarf over what is half naked, or straighten up a suit. And it would give you the impression that people believe, some people believe, that religion and godliness and holiness starts at the church and ends after the service is finished. But that's not far from the truth.
Last year, I attended an event today, which I believe this would have transpired out of the little altercation with the pundit, and he would have come out from our Congress where he was blocked from speaking his views based on what taking place in the party. So as a trade unionist, I know the views of people, or just take that very seriously, and I would like to know what you think about the whole scenario in your own words.
But first of all, I stand in support of the Farmers Reunited. It's not the first time that we have engaged together. We were outside the Ministry of Agriculture sometime last year because the struggle of former county workers to get their legal entitlement of their land and other entitlements, that is something that is decades old, and so they've been denied their legal entitlement, which is their right, and their right of their children and so on. People are dying and not having their entitlement, so I stand in solidarity with the Farmers United. So that's the first point I want to make. So this is not just something I'm coming to because it's political. It's something in terms of the struggle of people for justice is something that I will always stand for, and I will always stand with people who are fighting for their rights and fighting for justice. On the specific issue now of the physical assault of Pundit Donny, the issue for me is quite clearly one of freedom of expression. Everybody has a right of freedom of expression. And from all of the reports that I've seen, that assault took place not within the confines of what was taking place. It was taking place outside. He went outside. The media asked him to be interviewed, which he has a right to speak to the media. And some people didn't want him to speak to the media. And that is an attack on people's freedom of expression. And we ought not to engage in that kind of activity, because once you begin to physically stop people from expressing their views, you can never tell where that is going to end up. So we need to say no, that was wrong. That is not the way in which we need to conduct our differences. And we have differences in the country, within organizations, between organizations, within families and so on. But differences are never to be resolved by way of physical violence or assault and that kind of thing. Because if we condone that kind of way of resolving differences, then what we are saying is that it is okay for a man to beat his wife, or for parents to beat their children to the hospitalized or die. And once we encourage that culture, we are also therefore condoning young men picking up a gun to resolve a conflict with another young person by shooting or killing them. And so I am saying that the way for us to deal with our differences is if separate yourself or engage in a dialogue, engage in conversation, engage in mediation, whatever it may be, right? Allow, if it's an organization, whatever organization it is, whether it's a trade union or a political organization, a sports club, steel band and so on, whatever the organization is, the way to deal with it is within the democracy of the organization. Of course, within the country as a whole, people have the right to freedom of expression, and we must allow that to flourish. And we must never condone or support violence in stopping people's, whether it's freedom of expression or any other rights in the country.
And Mr. Abdul, I just want to find out something. What do you think about Kamala? That's all when it's happening.
Alright, so I'm not, you want to get me into an issue of, I don't like to deal with individuals, quite honestly, alright? I like to deal with policy and principle, right? And so what I just expressed was about the principle of the right to freedom of expression and how we must not encourage or condone violence in dealing with that. And I'm saying that quite deliberately, because what has happened in the country and is happening in the country is a lot of people are not focusing on principles or on policies, they're focusing on the individual. And when we focus on the individual and not on the principles and policies, we will change individuals, and the wrong principles and policies will stay, and the society will not change. And I'm about changing the society of Trinidad and Tobago, about transforming the society. And to transform it, we have to raise our consciousness to move above and beyond the individual who might do something wrong, but focus on the policy and principles which they are violating. We have to work around the issues of injustice that are affecting people in this country, right? So one of the issues that we're taking up very soon in a major document, I spoke about it already, is the TMTech rate increase.
Yes.
But there are many other issues. Question of constitutional reform is something that is necessary for us to do. Because we have to change the system. We have to change the political system where you have two parties that control the politics along race lines and divide the people and allow the economic controllers of power to remain in control of economic wealth and so on. And we have to change that economic system as well. So there are many things that we could work together on.
Come on, just one more thing. They say in every case a disaster or something, like the seed of an equivalent advantage. What is the seed of an equivalent advantage coming out from this whole scenario where you're seeing more or less I wouldn't say the birth, but people not being able to voice their opinion, and in addition to the other injustices of what happened to the citizens, you see some sort of collaboration in the near future with not just probably parties or anything, but the trade union movement as a whole, the federations coming together to see some sort of significant
Sometime
change.
last year, I started an initiative, because of what I call Trade Unions Drive for Progress, where a number of trade unions came together with other organizations and so on. And we were to engage in a whole campaign around the whole suite of issues. Unfortunately, that didn't get off the way in which we had wanted it to, but that seed is still there. And like the mustard seed, which starts small, something can go big subsequent. So there are lots of things that are happening in the country, and each of these things help to open people's eyes differently, and different people, of course, open their eyes at different points in time. But I feel that at some moment, people would realize that what we need to have is to move from where we are today. Last year we celebrated our 60th anniversary of independence. For many years have been a Republican country, and we now need to evolve to a different stage, what I call the Second Republic, because the system that we have is not benefiting the average man and woman, the average worker, the person who is unemployed, small business person, the fisher folk, farmers. They are not benefiting from the resources of Trinidad and Tobago in a fair and equal way. A few people are getting all or most, and by that I'm including the big multinational oil companies, BP and Shell and all them, who premium off the top and so on, the big conglomerates and those people who run them, and the rest of people are fighting for a smaller. Their share getting smaller and smaller, more and more people fighting for a smaller and smaller share. And more and more people I think are understanding that. The question is, how do we get out of that and move to something different? And that's what we have to do through education, informing people, mobilizing people, organizing people, listening to what people are saying, right? And listening to each other. Because Trinidad and Tobago is not one country, right? Power is not the same as Lamantine, all right? Toco is not the same as Westmoreland. And I could go on and on and give different examples. So we have to listen to each other and recognize what there is in common that we have. And because I think the majority of people want real change in the country, and that's what we have to work for.
Right. Good night, Mr. Vika Thomas.
Good night,
and Donny Simangal. Samlal. Now, what prompted us to come here is the incident that we would have seen take place throughout on the media and throughout social media. Now, I want to find out in your own words what you was trying to say that the people within the opposition party, which is the UNC, was trying to get you to hush up. What you're trying to say, I want you to express what you was trying to say. In your own words, it's not to be long.
It's a very simple sentiment. We are children of the ex-Carney, because I myself being an ex-Carney. And on the closure of Carney in 2003, our families, myself included, went through immense suffering, torture. It was very, very problematic in terms of reaching to where we were supposed to go. Part of our visa packages were to get the land that was promised. And we are of the view that if the land and the package was given in entirety, our lives would have been significantly improved, and the lives of our children, that also would have been improved. 20 years after, we are still awaiting the land. Back up 2010, we saw opportunity where we would have been represented by the installation of a new prime minister at that time, Ms. Kamala Prasad. And we had a lot of faith that it will be done. Lo and behold, even at that time, trying to reach out to her, trying to get her, it was very, very difficult. We tried. 2010, 2015 came, it was not delivered in entirety. So we went through a lot. Even after that, trying to get her to advocate for us in Parliament, it was very, very difficult. And what we are seeing is we were underrepresented, and even not represented at all. Even in the Congress on Sunday, I sat there for the entire duration, hoping to hear, hey, the carny workers, the sugar workers were there.
You say something that want me to ask a question. Now, we would have heard some of the comments in the media would have stated, all right, that wasn't the appropriate place. But listen to this question here. You would have said you would have tried to reach out several times before that.
Right, yes.
And we will say you would have reached to some level of frustration that you feel you had was
The carny workers are frustrated. We are frustrated after 20 years. There were protests at the Ministry of Agriculture to Mr. Kazim Hussein. There were protests prior to that, protests in 2014. There were many, many protests, and all is going on deaf ears. So we are looking for the advocacy. We want to be represented. And it is the only fair thing, it's the only fair that we ask to be represented properly. And the sugar workers, they form a great part of the UNC, a great part of the transition and the movement of the UNC into government. And this is their supporter base. And it is only the right thing to ask, could you please represent us? Could you nicely represent us? There's no need to fight, there's no need to push anybody. We just need to be represented. And the officers of the MPs, the officers of Parliament, they have to be used to represent us. We are the people.
Now you would have said something. You say, I quoting from you verbatim. You would have said, you represent thousands of people. If you know the figure, the amount of the people that you would have, I hear a figure quoted just now. I want to repeat it, about 6,000?
9,027.
Wow.
To be exact. As you can see in my hand here, I have signatures. We've started a physical petition, and we have signatures of these people here today. Soon we'll be starting an online petition for the ones that will not be able to come out and sign physically. So,
And that petition is for what?
Well, I could read for you. The United Farmers Group are asking that all our members sign this petition in support of our no confidence motion against the opposition leader, Kamala Prasad Desessa, as she stood on stage at the same compound and allowed thugs to physically and verbally abuse one of our spiritual leaders, Panidoni Sambal, at the UNC's National Congress on Sunday, the 29th of January. And this is where he was verbally and physically abused at a Congress where someone is supposed to be allowed the right to speak, and as a person, you are, or you should be allowed to speak. Everyone has a right to speak. Why was he verbally abused? Why didn't anyone, I should say, intervene and stop the abuse, stop the violence? That did not happen. So we have started the physical petition. We have thousands of signatures here, as you can see, and we're counting. So the online one would start soon as well, where those who have not had an opportunity to sign on can do so.
And just the process is a motion, no confidence against Kamala Prasad Desessa, right?
Yes, it is.
When you get the other signature, how the process is it going to the government to remove Kamala? How the process?
This would be presented to the president.
The president.
Yes.
Just repeat that figure because I just
9,027,
wow.
to be exact, and counting.
And
Now we have several religious bodies coming on board to support. We have other smaller groups, and we have members of the public coming on board. We even have UNC members who are very, very displeased at what they saw on Sunday, and no one stopped. It's really against the violence and the inaction of the opposition leader, not intervening and doing anything when one of her members, Donnie here, was verbally and physically abused, as everyone can see in the videotapes.
Now, concerningly, were you ever involved in any actions that the party would have taken? Because somebody told me, I hear it in the grapevine, that you was there in a protest in Penal with the woman's arm.
No. I would not in any protest in Penal. That protest were other members of our group, the United Farmers. There are several sections of the group. So the Southern women of the United Farmers would have taken part in that protest. I believe it was opposite her office, where a letter was presented regarding the currently workers, which she has never responded to. She ignored it. Another one was sent to her office, and she ignored it again. However, I will say I was involved in the protest by the Diwali Nagar, where Khadija Amin assaulted me. I was involved in that one.
Khadija, in what way? Physically?
That's the one in Shigonas, yes.
She assaulted you physically?
Yes.
Comrade, any questions that you might?
The only question is in delivering with regards to the UNC's constitution, right? At the Congress meeting and that kind of stuff. That is where the delegates, which we open a delegate or a member, assuming that I'm not sure the structure of the constitution, right? But being a member of the party, that is where you're supposed to be able to voice your concerns at that particular point. Did anything was against the constitution what they was doing at all in any possible way?
It's a simple motion asking for representation, and
You was going to move a motion
yes,
for better representation
of no confidence,
and no confidence.
due to lack of representation.
And the no confidence
Which is
motion was
correct.
against the
Leader of the opposition.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
and let me ask a question. For the years that you're supporting Kamala, and she never really helped you with the current work, no thought in your mind ever came out, I'll go to another party.
Okay, so year after year, right, opposite us in the ground, we will have puja for every year for our Karani workers in remembrance of them. And just this last year, 2022, we invited another group to assist us because nobody is listening. So we are saying, whoever wants to come and help us, please do something.
And that is any party you're speaking about?
Sorry?
We talk about any party who wants to assist
Anybody
you.
who is willing to take up the fight and represent us. It is important to know that at the UNC or manders or temples or churches, everybody supports, because we think that it is a tool and a vehicle for change and movement.
And okay, let me say Kamala really gets removed. Who do you think is the best leader for the UNC party? Is it Munilal? Is it who?
Can I answer that?
Yes.
At this point in time, we're not about choosing a leader for the UNC. We want unity, we want peace. A clarion call was made for other members of the public and other party groups to come together, which they are now coming together with us. Today you will have seen Comrade David Abdullah here and other members. They have come forward and they are in support of us, and every day more and more people are coming forward to support what we are doing.
So what you would have think about the leadership of seeing that this, you would have called, you would have write letters, you would have, what do you think about the leadership of the party? Is that proper representation in your own view or not?
Well, I would let Panditoni answer that.
But we don't want to attack anybody, but what we just need is proper representation. The Karani workers, ex-Karani workers, we have spent 20 years in turmoil, in trouble. We just need our visa packages. We need to be represented and not ignored. So that's simply what we ask.
Before we was outside here, earlier on, we would have had a short, brief conversation. What was the atmosphere like when, just for the population here, what was the atmosphere like when the plan was closed down?
2003. It was the first time I ever saw suffering like this in our community. First time I saw big men crying as we were walking through that I can never forget that day. It was a day of Holocaust. It was the worst, and the years that followed that. So I started just here in this manor at the age of 15 as a young boy, and that time I would have been around 20 because I worked in the factory also as an apprentice. And the suffering and the darkness that overtook this village, it was horrible. We had most of the people, there were suicides, killing, alcoholism, the crime rate shot up. It was, people didn't have food in their homes, and these are things that went unnoticed. Many things had to change, and the once bustling area of St. Madeleine, it became a ghost town. Yep, it was indeed sad. It was one of the largest hits that we ever had in this area. It was terrible. Terrible is an understatement.
Why do you feel cannot do want to help the ex-carny people? Why do you feel is the cause of it?
At this point, I can't answer. I can't answer. That's something that she'll have to see. I'm not that privileged. That.
Well, in closing, I would like to make a closing statement. Mr. Thomas and Mr. Donny, wherever like the population, they hear in essence at the summing up of this whole thing. What are you going to expect?
Well, the United Farmers Group will continue to advocate on those who are being discriminated against. We will continue our fight on behalf of the Carney, because the ex-Carney employees who have been waiting for their lands for 20 years. We're making a clarion call for all parties, or other parties, and everyone who wants to come on board to assist in this fight. We need peace. This country is not in a good place at this point in time. So we need everyone to come together so something better can happen for our children and ourselves.
I would like to mention that the spiritual leaders in this village, they have really toed the lines. We had Pastor on who just gave and if you look on the stage, we'll see there's a lot of packages. He's a man that serves the community, and they do a lot. Myself, I tried doing a lot, and the religious bodies, they have really worked in getting the darkness and the poverty, the suffering out of the communities. And I would like to leave with the message that good must always win. Good in everything, it wins. Evil will never win, and we must not stand for evil. Stand up for what is right, do what is right. This is why we go to church and temple and what, so that we can have a voice to do the right things. It is important that we always follow the right, do the right. Good evening. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Venison Jeffrey, and this is the Workers' Rights Platform. Now, the views expressed by the individuals in which we would have interviewed are not the views of the Workers' Rights Platform. But we believe that freedom of speech is necessary in all democracy. So we would have put out the invitation and shared this platform with them so the truth could be heard. There are three sides to our story: your side, my side, and the truth. Now we are yet to get the next half. However, we are inviting anyone onto this platform in which could dispel what would have said there. We are inviting members of the UNC. Again, my name is Venison Jeffrey, and this is the Workers' Rights Platform, and this is where you will always get the views in which that other people don't want to hear. Yeah, don't forget, subscribe to the channel. With that, I'm out.